Today, we're putting rosin and resin head to head. We're gonna go over how they're made, what makes them great, and what makes them different from each other. I am here with Dr. Sierra, who is a real scientist and the head of all of our formulations and lab and production and all that. A little background on all of us: we come from the recreational cannabis industry, and we wanted to bring that expertise to this side. In a previous video, you saw us talking about resin and rosin being filled. Today, we're gonna start with a selection process, talk about what gets kept, what gets tossed, and how that leads to all the wonderful formulations that Sierra makes. Sierra, you want to explain to us what some of these jars are that we're looking at here today?
Of course I can, Patrick. So we have a few different types of jars here. We have live resin on this side, and then we have rosin on this side. We have a combination of a few different types of live resin. This one is going to be CBDA live resin, while these two are THCA live resin. On this side, we have our dab grade rosin, and we have a formulated jar as well.
Okay, Doc, tell us the answer to this burning question. What is the difference between resin and rosin?
So resin right here, the main difference is going to be how it's manufactured. Live resin uses solvents and hydrocarbons like butane and propane to create them, whereas rosin right here is solventless. You use pressure to create rosin.
In your opinion, is rosin better? Is resin better? And are there any traces of solvents that remain in the resin?
So if we look at rosin, the main difference is that there is no solvent traceability in it. It is used with really cold water washes to create hash, and from that hash, it's pressed with heat to create this rosin right here. When we're talking about live resin, there is going to be trace but compliant levels of solvents. Typically, live resins are created with hydrocarbons like butane and propane to make them.
So, and should people be worried about the fact that we're using butane to extract these cannabinoids and terpenes from the plant?
Oh, that's a great question. So all of our live resins are tested with third-party labs. You want to go ahead and take a little whiff of that even, Pat?
Woo, stanky.
All of our live resins are tested with third-party analytical labs, and they always pass for compliant levels of potentially trace amounts of solvents. So in an ideal world, you have minimal amounts. They're below regulation standards, but you sometimes will have different levels depending on how efficient your extraction is.
So I'm noticing, some pretty significant layers of, terpenes on there. Is that related to the hydrocarbon extraction? And can you kind of explain the difference of why we're seeing like these terp layers here? And then also, like, what's up with the diamonds? Is that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Just talk to us more about the differences in these jars.
We do have different layers. We have a heavy terpene layer on the top, and then we have crash out or recrystallization on the bottom.
And that's the diamonds, basically.
Those are your diamonds. So essentially,
a girl's best friend.
Exactly. Why don't you take a whiff of this right now?
Yeah,
just to get a little peek at it.
Ooh, she's
nice?
stanky.
You could really appreciate the terpenes on the top when you smell it. One thing about this right here is that you have recrystallization because of the solvent interaction during the manufacturing of the live resin.
So when the solvents are stripping out the oils, there's something that occurs that creates that crystallization.
Exactly.
And that, I'm guessing, doesn't happen
with
in the rosin?
Because it's solventless. So solvents are going to be the hydrocarbons like butane or propane, and that combination of solvent to solute, which would be your cannabis or your hemp material, causes, when you have good amounts of levels of pressure and the solvents, this recrystallization right here, or these diamonds.
Excellent. Yeah, I want to smoke that jar. Speaking of terps, talk to us about terpenes and their involvement in our rosin and resin products.
Yeah, so we have a combination. This is our CBDA live resin right here. We have a combination of CBDA live resin and THCA live resin in some of our products. Let's take a sniff of this jar as well, right?
Oh wow, that's That's strong and liquidous, and you can see like serious diamonds being created in here, like big chunks.
This one is a little bit more piney too, in my opinion.
Yes.
Compared to this one. Now, we have different levels of terpenes in both of them. So when we blend our products together, we always want to preserve as many terpenes as we can when we're talking about live resin or rosin. And we do that by reducing our overall heat with exposing and formulating them.
So we're trying to keep these products cool and not heated, and that helps preserve these glorious terpene layers. Doctor, I gotta ask, can we get a pour?
Of course we can. Yeah, so why don't we combine our terpenes with our crystals here?
And is this something like, is this how you would prep this jar to mix with, you know, to blend with other stuff?
Yeah, this is going to be more of like a cold stir. Typically in mass formulation, we will use low levels of heat to really heat the jar, make it a little bit more mixable. But we always have mixing involved just so you don't get more terpenes than cannabinoids in your formulation. So look at that.
Oh, wow. Wow. All right, so that was the live resin.
This is the live resin all mixed together with both of our layers.
And that seems like it's gonna pour a little easier than these.
Definitely. Look how fluid that is in the jar. You can really appreciate both of the layers once they're mixed.
What are some of the products that we make that you would formulate that into?
Yeah, this goes into a bunch of different kinds of products. So it goes into our edibles, any kind of live D9 gummy that you see.
Cool.
We put our live resin in it. We also put it in our uncut blends, which is sort of a combination of just these types of materials, THCA and CBDA live resin. And then we also put it into some of our dab products as well.
Okay, awesome. And then transitioning over, that was really nice. That poured really easily. Obviously, we got kind of a different consistency here. Can you talk to us a little bit about why that is, and then also what products that we formulate from this rosin here?
Yeah, definitely. So again, we're gonna have a little bit more thicker consistency with our solventless rosin, not those defined layers because of the interaction that occurs. Thank you. And when you dab something like rosin, it has a completely different texture. It's not as fluid, and you actually have to more scoop it out as well.
So there's obviously a really different consistency here, and you were talking about kind of the fact that in the hydrocarbon extraction, those layers tend to separate, and in the rosin they don't. It would almost appear on the surface that there's less of a terpene content over here. Can you speak to that and answer, like, is that a valid statement?
Yeah, so it always depends on your input material, right? The flower itself. So
fire in, fire out.
Exactly. So that is definitely a factor and a variable you always want to consider. However, just because you don't really necessarily see the defined layers doesn't mean that the terpenes aren't in there. It just means that there is different consistencies between them two. Okay,
and then you mentioned that goes into dabs, edibles, and vapes. I'm gonna assume the same's true over here.
That's a great question. So we take our dab grade rosin and we melt it down, but not boil and decarb, so that we both preserve the terpenes, but make it consistent enough to be paired with a piece of hardware.
Okay, second question. Can we get a dab rib so I can dab that?
Which one are you guys choosing, rosin or rosin?
I think I'm gonna have to go with rosin.
See, I'm team both, but you just told me behind the scenes, you guys didn't see this, but you told me I have to choose. And honestly, gun to my head, I'm going hydrocarbon extraction. I'm gonna go with Team Live Resin. I'm a hydrocarbon extraction fan. And with that said, the real question is, which one do you guys prefer?